What's up, sneaky YouTube? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with part 2 of my legit check guide for the Travis Scott Jordan 4s. I believe most people just call these the Travis Scott Jordan 4s, but the color code technically says University Blue. So these are the University Blue Travis Scotts. So before we get into it, let's just take a quick 360 of the authentic shoe. As I said, these are 100% authentic. They are still dead stock. That might change in the next few weeks or months, but as of now, here they are. And here is the replica pair. And just so that you guys know, you will be able to find very detailed pictures of these on the Instagram account that I'm about to put on the screen, so that you can do a more in-depth analysis. You will see detailed pictures. Everything that I point out, you'll be able to see close-up pictures of them. I'll direct you to the Instagram account where you can see all of that, and you can ask all the questions and get as much information as you need. Always remember that this account is primarily for education. I'm here to educate folks so that they can not get scammed. So with all that said, let's talk about the Travis Scott Jordan 4s. There really isn't much to talk about when it comes to the boxes. Practically identical. You get a little bit of color difference in the Jumpman. Left is authentic, right is rep. The box is the same size though, so that's nice to see every now and then. On top is the authentic, and on the bottom is the rep. You guys can take a look at the size label. You can see that the font on the rep is a lot more bold, especially here on the letters, than it is on the authentic pair. Obviously the authentic pair still has the MSRP tag on there, but that's neither here nor there. That can be taken off, and some shoes don't have it at all. So other than that, the boxes are pretty much identical. Very, very slight color differences, but that also might be because this is an old pair of shoes. These came out in 2019 or 2018. So the box is definitely showing its age. But with all that said, let's actually talk about the shoes themselves. So here we have it, side by side, the Travis Scott Jordan 4s. Now, there are a couple things that I like to look at that help me determine whether or not this is a real shoe or a fake shoe. So I'm going to point a couple of those things out so that you guys can have an actual legit checking guide. But first and foremost, and this is a theme across all Travis Scott shoes, Nike usually uses the more premium, or at least perceived to be more premium materials on these Travis Scott collabs. So no exception on the Jordan 4s. Everyone loves to talk about motion on nubuck, and how when you put your finger, you can see the strokes and everything like that. That is absolutely the case for these. Tons and tons and tons of motion here. You can see it on that toe box. Very similar on both pairs. It is a medium grain nubuck, so it really shows that motion a lot. It's very soft. You can feel the texture. And on the rep pair here, sorry, I have a sticker here just so that it helps me identify them a little bit more, but on the rep pair here, you do have a pretty decent nubuck up at the top. It's very soft. It's not as long haired as the authentic pair, but it's definitely there, and that extends throughout the whole upper. And I think that kind of brings me to the second difference here, outside of the fact that the nubuck is a little bit softer and longer haired on the authentic pair. You can see a color difference. It's not drastic, but the rep is definitely a darker blue than the authentic pair. Or I should say, maybe not darker. Darker might not be the right word. It's a little bit less, it's tonally different. There you go. I'll put it that way. Really, really hard to articulate the difference, but it is tonally different. And like I said, you can feel the difference. Not by a lot, but you can feel the difference. Another thing that I can almost pretty easily point to is the fact that these Jordan 4s definitely have the shape of a more modern Jordan 4. This toe box is a bulkier toe box than the toe box that we were getting back in 2018. And you can see, you could definitely see that difference in toe box shape with the authentic pair on top. Not a huge difference, but a difference nonetheless. But other than that, the uppers are pretty much the same. The netting is a little bit thicker on the authentic pair, and the back portion material behind the netting is darker as well. I feel like that really comes in pretty apparently, and you can see that the netting is a little bit wider as well, which is more consistent with newer Jordan 4s. And when we take a look at the back, you can see some more tonal differences here as well with the reds. The reds are definitely, the red on the authentic pair is a little bit more vibrant. They're still both dark, dull reds, but the red on the back of the authentic pair is a little bit more vibrant. It's a little bit darker on the back of the rep. And that same kind of difference translates to the inner sock liner. You see a more vibrant, almost like a fire red on the inside of the sock liner, while you have a darker red here on the rep. This is something consistent I've seen on most reps that I've looked at so far. You have that darker sock liner. And while I won't take out the shoes or take out the insoles, that translates to the insole as well. Darker insoles on the reps. Really get a good look at that on the inside. And then transition to the sock liner. And then when you go to the bottom, one thing that I've noticed, especially on DS pairs of these, is that the red Jumpman is always a little bit more glossy than on the reps. You can see how it catches the shine on the bottom there. And let's see if we can do a little side by side here. And now the remainder of the differences are really going to be centered around the midsole and the outsole. So in the past, the midsole paints, they were never really that close. But you can see that the colors are definitely getting much closer. The midsole is a little bit darker, a very tad bit darker, like a half shade darker on the rep pair than is on the authentic pair. But what really sets them apart, or it makes it a little bit easier to tell, is that there's more of a matte look on the rep pair than there is on the authentic pair, which is glossy on that midsole. And you can almost see a texture to the authentic pair as well. And then when you transition to the outsole, it's the exact opposite. The rubber on the outsole of the authentic pair is a glossy black rubber that you can see all across the front of the shoe. You can see the gloss. And when you take a look at the outsole of the rep pair, it's the exact opposite. All matte. Now, who's to say that this might not happen after wear on the authentic pair, but out of the box, brand new, they're not the same. From there, we can actually observe the same kind of thing on the laces. The authentic pair has a shiny wax lace, while the reps are not as shiny or waxed. So essentially the theme here, just like the first video, is the finishes. Make sure what's supposed to be glossy is glossy and what's supposed to be matte is matte. And that carries out through the entire shoe. And then from there, we can take a look at small things that are a little bit harder to observe. For instance, the speckle pattern on the authentic pair is just a little bit of a darker, deeper blue than on the rep. And it translates a little bit back to the back tab as well. That's pretty much it for legit checking purposes. The reps for these are really good. I would say probably the thing that I'm going to focus on as far as legit checking goes is making sure that the finishes are exactly what they're supposed to be. If it's just because those are going to be the easiest things to pick up on camera or on picture if you're not in person, if you're not there in person. But other than that, these are definitely, they could fool people for sure. But if you know what you're talking about, and you're studied up, you should not have any problem being able to pick these up out of a lineup. So I'm sure there's more things that I could point at, but that pretty much is what I focus on when it comes to legit checking. So with all that said, guys, I'll leave the Instagram account where you can find much more detailed pictures of these, especially the speckles and the inside tags and things like that. I'll make sure I have pictures up for you guys so that you can observe and do your own research. But with all that said, guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.